The views and opinions expressed on this program do not reflect the company, owners, management, staff, clients, or partners.
It's Friday, the 29th day of September 2023. Welcome to Bermuda's Daily Talk Show. It's the Daily Hour brought to you by the BAC Group of Companies, Medical Wells, People's Pharmacy, and Linda's. I'm Jamal Hartman. As you can see, Maya Palacio is in his house. She is doing her co-host and role today as well. How are you, madam?
I'm feeling good. Feeling good to be here on a Friday. How about you, Jamal?
I'm feeling very good this Friday morning. I am, I'm not as happy as most people saying, "Oh well, it's Friday, yes, but because I love to do the show. No, I'm not saying we need to do it Saturdays and Sundays though.
Was I think you forget people have to wake up really early for this.
Yeah. We need a couple of days off, but happy to be here. Happy to make it to another Friday. Greetings, everyone. Thanks for making us part of your daily routine. A good one today as we welcome former Premier of Bermuda, the Honorable Alex Scott, JPMP. We're discussing independence today. I'm really excited about this conversation. As someone who many years ago read the Independence Commission report, he pretty much commissioned it. He pushed for it. Yesterday, we had the Information Commissioner of Bermuda. I remember when he was premier, he was under his leadership, the Public Access for Information Act was pushed, although it didn't come to fruition until many years later. So I know, I just want people to know how important his term as premier, I believe from 2003 to 2006 was. It was actually one of the most important terms in terms of things that got done. And so, yes, this is his first time on the show. Looking forward to a great conversation. And, I know a lot of people may have some questions in the audience. I'm so happy that Maya, after a lot of convincing last night, has decided to join. It's so much better having a journalist alongside me join these kind of shows. So I can do much less. But anyway, the Daily Play is it's a things you should know today, Maya. Okay. Things you should know. Yeah, I think you might get this one. So maybe we have to find a harder one. And please, audience, do not forget to subscribe on our website, thedailyhour.com. Follow us on all of our social media channels to stay up to date with all that we have going on. Help us grow beyond the mic as we do our part to continue to improve our community. Well, Maya, you want to let's just jump right into the news break. Yeah. And after the news break, we'll bring former Premier Scott on for an extended conversation like we normally do with our esteemed and honorable leaders like Sir John and the like. So we're going to go to the news break early. And folks, like I said, get your questions ready so that we can have a very encouraging conversation with our former Premier Scott.
Alrighty, good morning, everyone. This is the Daily Hour Newsbreak brought to you by People's Pharmacy. Starting off the news this morning, if you haven't heard about it, there is going to be a protest this morning. Taxis and all other vehicles were being asked to congregate at Workmen's Club at 9:30 a.m. this morning, and then they will convoy into town. So this protest is the second one of the protests we heard of the last week's, which involved the taxis, the fishermen, and also the West End Warriors, and the farmers as well, and educators. So the second protest is up this morning.
Okay. And I think I saw on one of the headlines today, there was another group joining the protest. Let me just double check, Maya, because it was another group that I saw joining. So it's the taxi drivers, it's West End Warriors, the the fishermen,
Mm-hmm.
the farmers, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And let me just double check. It says, oh, holiday rental owners. So I guess those are the people that have been told that their taxes are going to be a bit higher, or they have to pay fees for like renting their like Airbnbs. That's what holiday rentals are, correct?
Yes. Yeah, you are correct. And actually, I did see a press release on that yesterday. I hadn't got the chance to read it all the way through, but after joining into the protest this morning, that's added numbers to this. So it's obviously increasing in some way. So.
Okay. And this is the way to fight back these days. Again, many years ago when I was growing up, it was the unions, it was Stuart Haywood, the late Stuart Haywood and his best movement. This is where we're at.
Mm-hmm. All right, next on the list of this morning's news, Bermuda Commerce. The Bermuda Chamber of Commerce expressed its concerns regarding the recent tabling of the Employment Amendment Act of 2023 by Minister Jason Hayward in the House of Assembly last Friday. It is alarming that neither the chamber nor the industries is represents were consulted or even provided with a copy of the bill. This is coming from the Bermuda Chamber of Commerce. They say after several appeals to multiple departments to obtain the document, a copy was ultimately provided by the House of the Opposition. The timing of the bill's debate amidst government closures with the challenges posed in reaching government officials raises further concerns. It remains unclear why Minister Hayward is advancing this legislation so rapidly, especially when the government has expressed its commitment to collaborating with industry. This collaboration aims to ensure legislative action aligned with the government's goal of business growth, increasing employment, and the more prosperous Bermuda for all of its stakeholders. The Chamber believes in the importance of the government's industry collaboration, so ensure that legislation measures do not inadvertently harm the very sector they aim to protect.
You know, I don't want to be too critical today of the government. I have a tendency to do that, apparently. What I will say to the chamber is them not seeking consultation is a surprise to no one. I guess the question is, what are the next steps that the chamber takes to ensure that this doesn't happen again?
Yeah. They said the chamber urges Minister Hayward to reconsider the pace of which the legislation is being pushed forward. Engaging in meaningful dialogue with industry representatives can help prevent unintended consequences that might arise from this act.
Yeah. Charles H. Jefferson II says, why does the government do that? Because they're allowed to do it. People don't hold them accountable. If you do it once and, people just go in the newspaper and express their disgust and do nothing else, then, oh, well, they'll complain and they'll get over it. So, yeah, they don't need consultation.
So at this point, I'm almost lost count as to how many different organizations have a request from the government to do something differently at this point, because they spoke about Bermuda Union of Teachers yesterday. Today's the Chamber of Commerce, and we now know the protesters as well. So the numbers are adding up.
Oh, boy.
Yeah. Well, in the House of Assembly this morning, here's some things to look forward to or get little remarks from. There's going to be some discussion, statements by ministers and junior ministers about the update on tax reform commission, expansion of pension investments, the submarine cable initiative from Google and Nuvium, intentions to make expungent of convictions, criminal records. That one's going to be the Honorable Kathy Lynn Simmons is going to be talking about that one, which I'm most actually not excited, but most looking forward to hear about. It's going to be an update on recovery efforts following the cyber attack, an update on Bermuda International Airport firefighters. Obviously, we had a group that went out into the States to, get their firefighters license because we need a lot for the airport. Affordable housing progress will be also talked about as statements, and also Department of Financial Assistance annual report, establishing the Southeast Hamilton Economic Empowerment Zone, and finally, National Senior Strategy for Bermuda. So all those will be statements out this morning in the House of Assembly.
All righty. A lot to go, lot of business being taken care of.
A lot of business being taken care of this morning. And reports on the cyber attack, there was an update that came from the Premier yesterday, basically saying that on Monday, I confirmed the engagement of overseas experts to support the work of government's Department of Information and Digital Technology. So it got outside assistance, and the work done to date has significantly advanced the restoration and recovery efforts, says the Premier of Bermuda. Some email functionality is already being returned, and systems not impacted by the attack have been brought back online and are operational. The nature of this sophisticated attack has made it difficult to isolate that what data has been compromised versus data that has been encrypted, thereby preventing access. What has emerged is that the government of Bermuda is one of a series of recent attacks aimed at other governments and large corporations worldwide. He says, I must be clear that this is an ongoing investigation still, so I cannot share any further details with this time. He closed by saying, we know that there has been feedback about the government only sharing a limited amount of details thus far, and I absolutely understand, and there are still questions that the public would like answers about this incident.
I mean, we got an update. That's a let's give him some love for that. We got an update, but I think people still would love more answers. Whether or not he can give them, it's another story.
Yeah. Well, whether or not when all this is said and just completely done and we're protected fully, maybe we'll find out what the whole entire process was, who did it, why they did it, what it took to fix the issue.
Indeed.
So looking forward to that. Now, in some international news, as Teo usually brings up on Friday, trying to follow his lead. So it's coming to the age now where, technology, AI has really taken over. And we talk about it so often on the show about, what jobs they might be able to take over as well. Well, it looks like in New York City, robots are going to take over the position of cops soon. So let's take a look at this international news.
City is now turning to robots to help patrol the Times Square subway station. Each bot is equipped with cameras to send live video and other intelligence back to the police department.
It's in technology grand. Here's Eyewitness News reporter NJ Burkett.
The newest member of the NYPD weighs 400 pounds, gets paid $9 an hour, and works midnights without a single complaint. And transit commanders couldn't be happier.
Welcome to New York City, K5, and welcome to the NYPD.
K5 is a robot that will patrol the Times Square subway station in the overnight hours. Equipped with multiple cameras and two-way communication, intended to deter crime and to capture crimes in progress. And equipped with a panic button that riders can use to alert patrol officers.
We are taking an expansive camera network in the subway system and adding to it, supplementing to it, if you will, and adding a series of cameras that not only moves, but a device that can connect subway riders to immediate assistance if the need arises.
The number of daily subway riders now tops 4 million, the highest number since the pandemic. Crime underground is trending lower, but the number of violent assaults is still more than 50% higher than it was just 4 years ago.
I'm ready for my close-up.
The NYPD is ramping up its use of robotics, from dogs to drones to tracking devices.
This call may be recorded for your safety.
And now, robots. K5 is being leased from Nightscope, its manufacturer. It has facial recognition capabilities and listening devices. But Mayor Adams insists neither will be activated.
While I believe it is our duty to utilize state-of-the-art technology advancements to help keep New Yorkers safe, I believe we must do it wisely and not intrusively.
K5 will be accompanied by a patrol officer for the first 2 months of a pilot program, mainly to answer questions from curious riders. A solo deployment expected just in time for the holiday tourist season.
They said 400 pounds. There's no weight limit to be a cop in New York City. I'm just saying.
I think that's to deter people from trying to tip it over, but
okay. I guess weight does something. But you know what? Interesting story there. And I think, Bermuda has a problem right now finding police officers. But I always say this. You need robots. As long as you have robots, you're going to need human beings to operate them. Whatever man makes breaks. So to me, the elimination of jobs is the creation of other jobs. That's not just the elimination of a job, but it's an opportunity to, in their minds, to make their city a bit safer. Mm-hmm. But also it can create other opportunities. That thing's not going to last forever. It's going to need maintenance. It's going to need people monitoring it as well. So, yeah, interesting.
Yeah, there were some comments that said if you just put a blanket over it, I'm sure it won't work anymore, which is a pretty funny comment, but
that's true.
Yeah, it's got 360 vision. It says if anyone does anything, that it would be able to catch them and things like that. But we'll find out in the 2 months trial. We'll find out more.
All righty. What else you got?
Well, in the weather today, we're looking like a lot of sunny periods, maybe a touch of a cloud or two later on in the day, and we got a high of 82 degrees.
All righty. Well, days of the year today. So the day of the year is Ask a Stupid Question Day. Well, folks, if you knew me as a student, you would know that this day was probably created because of me. All right, so you've probably heard the saying, quote, there is no such thing as a stupid question, right?
Mm-hmm.
Well, Ask a Stupid Question Day was created by a collection of teachers who wanted to make children feel encouraged to ask more questions in the classroom. I had no problem doing that, as you can tell. During the 1980s, a bunch of teachers realized that their students weren't asking questions for fear of sounding stupid. So they created a day dedicated to letting students ask the questions they were most ashamed of. So how should we celebrate Ask a Stupid Question Day? Well, it's celebrate by digging into your brain and asking those questions that occur to you while standing in the shower or simply pondering the meaning of life. So I had a question many years ago, and many people, called me names. Said, that's so silly. That's so stupid. I simply asked, and science has proven it true now. So all of those people who were teasing me, I'm like, oh, how you feel now? The question I asked when I was younger, I said, I wonder if animals have accents, right? And the reason I asked is, if a cow in Spain obviously engages its owners or dog based on the Spanish they speak, and one in the US or the UK in English, then I'm sure that they language-wise understand different things. But then as I learned, as I got older, I know this sounds crazy to you, that a whale, for instance, let's say the captive whales that are in captivity, they can't just put them in the ocean. They have to put them where their pods were, right? Why? Because like human beings, whales come from different pods and communicate differently. So a question that was stupid when I was young, actually, as I got older, got proven to say, no, they're animals and just not animals. They have their own way of communicating based on where they are. So that was my stupid. Audience, let us know what was your stupid question. What was your stupid question, Maya?
A lot, but I could say two things that helped me ask questions when I was younger. It was number one was a math teacher at Whitney Institute, I think Mr. Cuddington, I want to say, and he asked a question like, everyone understand this? And nobody said yes, nobody said no. And so he would just say, I'm gonna say it wrong, I'm gonna butcher it, but he basically said, you could feel stupid right now, or you can ask the question and stop feeling stupid. Something like that. It was along those lines. It made me think so it's like you can feel 10 minutes feeling stupid right now because you never asked a question. Then later on, go and be like, damn, I wish I asked that question. And the second one was my mama, who always told me that if you never ask, it's always a no. So those two experiences helped me to ask questions. So I wasn't feeling so stupid.
Yeah. I as I grew older, I only started asking questions in spaces like this. I felt like I was interrogating any other time. But look, Ebony Souza said, no stupid questions from Freakonomics Radio is one of my favorite podcasts. I encourage you all to have a listen if you haven't already. Rosalind Famous says, that's not a stupid question. People with different languages imitate animal sounds differently. In Spanish, a dog says woo woo, not woo woo. Well, no, I'm glad she said this, but Rosalind, we were honestly, but think about me asking that question 20 years ago, right? I'm a teenager. It was like, oh, he's so, I'm like, seriously, you guys don't think like that? And it just told me how I thought. I thought differently from what most people around me were thinking. But anyway, folks, we're going to take a quick break. We've got the former Premier of Bermuda, the Honorable Alex Scott, coming up for a great conversation. Get your questions ready. You're already tuned in. And remember, no question is too stupid for this show. And I mean that, seriously. No question is too stupid. We just ask that you keep it extremely respectful. Stick with us. We'll be right back with the former Premier after this.
Get ready, BAC Group of Companies will be having a huge clearance sale. Many products will be discounted by up to 75%. Mark your calendars because this deal will only be offered from September 28th to the 30th. That's Thursday, Friday, and Saturday from 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. at the BAC parking lot. Big discounts on vanities, toilets, AC units, light fixtures, and much more. You do not want to miss out. Discounts up to 75%. BAC parking lot, September 28th to the 30th. Be there and save big.
People's ACW, located at King Edward VII Memorial Hospital, carries over-the-counter medicines, toys, cards, and even toiletries. Our knowledgeable staff are there whether you're at emergency, visiting family, or a member of BHP staff, to show you our best even when you're feeling your worst. People's ACW, we're here for you.
Welcome to the new bulk store, Lindo's Next Level.
Mom's celebrating her 70th birthday next month. Have you noticed her age is catching up with her?
Yeah. Plus, she's having a hard time getting up and around like she's used to. I would sure hate to see her fall.
At Medical House Limited, we can help make life situations easier. We have electric beds, motorized scooters, bath stools, walkers, you name it.
Mom's been real good to us. We'll get her birthday and Christmas gifts from Medical House.
Medical House has relocated next to the Dendy Town Field, number 6 Bakery Lane, Pembroke. Telephone 292-3622.
Welcome back to the Big Show. I'm Jamel Hartman. She's Maya Palacio. It's the Daily Hour brought to you by the BAC Group of Companies, Medical House Lindos, and People's Pharmacy. Please don't forget to subscribe on our website, thedailyhour.com. Follow us on all of our social media channels to stay up to date with all that we have going on. Help us grow beyond the mic as we do our part to continue to improve our community. Without further ado, let's bring in, as I described earlier, someone said to me yesterday, outside of Premier Paula Cox, the last premier of Bermuda without an ego. He's some say responsible for the Petty Act, the last premier who seriously pushed for independence. Premier who currently has a son who is active as a member of parliament and most recently government minister overseeing transport, and that would be MP Lawrence Scott. But he has his own career and he's had a life outside of politics. Hopefully he's been enjoying it. Let's welcome a warm TDH welcome for former Premier of Bermuda, the Honorable Alex Scott, CBE JP. How are you, sir? How are you, sir?
The last time I heard people cheering like that was when they threw me out of the office.
Well, I mean, I don't know if they cheered. I don't know if they cheered on like that, but sir, thank you so much. And before we get into the conversation, on behalf of everyone on this show, at least, just want to send our sincerest condolences to yourself and your family on the loss of your wife, who was, believe it or not, when I was doing a talk show many years ago, she was working with teen services at the time, and one of the most, I guess, one of those conversations where I learned so much, it felt like I was in a classroom. So such a great contributor to Bermuda, and please know that she played a role even in someone like myself's life in doing what I'm doing right now. So sincerest condolences.
Thank you. She was the bright one in the family. She was the dynamic person. The country would have been far, far better off if she chose to go into politics, but she was too smart to be tempted to go into politics. So there you have it. Yeah. But I appreciate the complimentary introduction. Two things I liked about that introduction is that, one, the nice things you said about me, and two, all the trouble that government's in. I'm certainly glad I'm not here as the current premier.
I get it. You must be like, woo, I am retired. I don't have to deal with that anymore. No, I get it. Well, since you haven't been in government for quite a while, you actually handed the reins over to your son. But tell us, how has life been post-politics for you?
A lot better. But don't get me wrong. It was a pleasure to serve. Now that I'm retired, I started writing a few years after I retired, and I think I'm just coming to the end of that narrative, book, notes, whatever you want to call it. and we are thinking in terms of finding a publisher and the like. So the family life has and again, because of my wife, it's been rewarding, and the children have done well. And when folks ask me about our children, I say they got the mother's looks, the mother's brains, and money from me to go to school.
That's how it's supposed to work, right?
I like that.
So let's jump into the political part of the conversation. So in the mid 2000s, under your leadership, you commissioned an independence commission, and I think it was the first time since the premiership of Sir John Hood took us to a referendum that conversation was
right.
a bit loud. Why did you do this, and what were some of the findings in that?
It was breaking up, but I think you must have said what was the finding of BIC,
yes,
and what was the motivation. The motivation came automatically, easily, and as a natural responsibility. In that, the short version is, I came to politics not seeking office, but to help my Berkeley school friend to promote his politics, the PLP, and that meant helping and partnering with Mrs. Brown Evans, David Allen, Mr. Cox, and the list is long. And so I became, as a client, I became briefed in all of the policies and philosophy of the PLP. And suddenly in 2003, there was a, let's call it a coup against Dame Jennifer, and the party was looking around for someone to step into the breach. Of course, there were the folks who, my language, took her out. They thought they would be the automatic successors to Dame Jennifer. But based on that communications background, based on that brief that I had of the PLP, I was seen as, at least at that time, someone who could save the day for the party. And so when I put together a platform, our policy initiatives, independence had to be right up there, right up front. That is the position that the Progressive Labor Party had taken from its inception in 1963. And to fail to put that before the public would have been a failure of a very large portion as far as the party was concerned. So once you put it before the public, then is, what are you going to do? How are you going to implement it? And of course, my view and the party's view was consultation with the public you serve is most important. So we put together a big committee, Bermuda Independence Committee, chaired by the august figure of Bishop Vernon Lamb. And we had a cross-section of Bermuda appointed to that committee. And they did an excellent job, a brilliant job, a most important job. They laid out all the ifs, thens, and therefores that a country should familiarize itself if it was anticipating a move to sovereignty. And they literally traveled the world, the Caribbean region, Canada, US, UK, and they talked with folks at the UN. So that compendium on independence or sovereignty is about as comprehensive a document anyone could find. I end on this note. I got a compliment from a most curious area, and that I had done a good job in putting BIC together. And that came from the governor of Bermuda. Matter of fact, once he complimented me, I had to rethink whether I had made a big mistake, because you just don't get compliments from the UK representative if you are pushing for the independence of Bermuda from the UK.
I find it interesting, Maya. I just want to jump into this because basically I got that you felt it was a responsibility as a premier of Bermuda and the constitution of the Bermuda Progressive Labour Party as a party to do this. We're talking almost 20 years ago in a couple of years, and there's been no movement on it. There doesn't even seem like there's going to be movement on it. And I know people how we feel about the current state of Bermuda. Oh, the economy is bad, the debt, and the poor leadership. But I don't see any Alex Scott or Jennifer Smith or I don't see any of that as a part of the current day leadership that even will focus on that. And I actually said to someone yesterday when they asked me, why do you think that the current administration doesn't move towards some sort of independence? And my answer is very clear, because they don't feel as secure in an independent Bermuda as leaders. Many of them seem to be there because, and I don't want to quote Curtis Dickinson correctly, but he had a thing where he basically said he's not in this for a job. Some people are in this because they need a job, right? So if they feel their jobs at threat, it's no benefit to them, right? Then are they really going to take us to the promised land? And so it's quite sad to see that about 20 years ago, we had leaders who thought like you. And today we almost seem to have leaders that, hey, I couldn't find a job elsewhere. I need to do everything I can to maintain my job here. That's where I feel like we are in the independence conversation.
There's a significance to your summary in that when I came to the office of Premier, my cabinet secretary, Mr. Drinkwater, when he heard me articulate the notion that I wanted to put independence on the table, so to speak, he said, Premier, your poll numbers, your rating is very high. It's in the 70s. Few get that high. But if you put independence on the agenda, rest assured that your popularity will start to sink. And my response to him then was my observation now. The high poll ratings I regarded as political currency. I was not there to pose. I was not there to see how long I could stay there. I wasn't a whiffum. A whiffum is what's in it for me. I was there to serve the public that voted us in and the PLP that articulated a policy outline, and independence was part of it. So for a leader to take on independence now, he would take on quite a stiff challenge. But also what has happened in the interim, in the 20 years since I was in office and the 60 years since PLP first put it before Bermuda, the shift has been away from the notion of independence to a notion of interdependence between nations. We now talk about comity of nations, that is, working together. It's not a case of us against the British, it's a case of us for Bermudians. And the selling of the notion of sovereignty, I raised my hand and said, I failed. I didn't do the best job possible. I was a PR man, advertising background. I knew the subject, and somewhere along the way I dropped the ball, meaning we're not independent at the moment, and it doesn't look like it's just over the horizon. And the explanation I give when I want to hide and find an excuse, I say that there exists in Bermuda something I refer to as the psyche of dependency. We have, because we're out here in the mid-Atlantic, become, for very practical reasons, dependent on the outside world. And the notion of going it alone is a challenging notion. And as a leader, to risk his his position, his career, his party, his government, in the light of this psyche of dependency is off-putting. But in the next few minutes, when we're talking about interdependence, I want to put forward a current view of a move to sovereignty. It's not just a constitutional idea where you quote clauses and you talk in terms of standing alone and going alone and us against the British and yada, yada, yada. It is a case of doing, well, let's put it this way. I am, and honestly so, very impressed with your operation there. Really, being in communications, what you're doing is innovative. Couldn't have been done and wouldn't have been done 30 years ago, 20 years ago, from an office over a computer hookup. What Dr. Weldon is doing. She's the young Bermudian who's striking out on her own in the scientific field, reaching beyond our borders to the Caribbean region. And so I could multiply that time and time again with changes that have taken place that are of interest to the new generation. When I was talking about and trying to sell independence, some of the people now who are running offices and like yourself doing innovative things, you were either in elementary school or you were just a spark in your parents' eye. So the times have changed, and so should the sales pitch for getting Bermudians into the how should I put it, into the mental framework of the psyche of dependence given over to the psyche of a sovereign nation. But I can stop there. You can ask questions.
Go ahead, Mike.
Let's continue on with that. Let's talk about the new sales pitch then. So can you give me some main reasons why Bermudians probably should consider independence from the UK?
Well, it's how we go about considering it. When we talked about it last, it was the PLP pushing for independence, or for a period, Sir John Swan pushing for independence. What we need to do is just pause, push pause, and have both parties sit down and discuss the mechanics, but more important, the advantages of the constitutional position of a independent, interdependent, sovereign Bermuda. I once I was invited to and made a speech at Government House to welcome the Newport sailors who had sailed down in a race to Bermuda. And I said to them, you know, I have always been faced with this quandary. As we sit out here in the mid-Atlantic, I don't know if the Lord put us out here to protect us from you or protect you from us. And I think what I was, the point I was making, and I did make it before the end of the welcome, is that Bermuda is geographically isolated, but we are internationally relevant. And that relevance is what I think we can trade in the interest not of the PLP, in the interest not of the OBE, but in the interest of our citizenry. These children, our young people have gone away and come back, and they're as bright as anybody in anywhere in the universe. But we always use sporting events as an idiom for explaining sometimes political issues and problems. Our young football teams, take the young ladies right now, doing extremely well. Excellent. In actual fact, drawn from a population of 60,000, they're down there shutting out teams that come from a few 100,000, if not a million or so. What's my point? My point is this, that if they want to continue to be competitive, if they want to be more competitive, they have to interact with other international teams, other teams from the region. They can't just be good at maintaining their status as the best by remaining isolated. Economically, we cannot continue to depend on just reinsurance and remain isolated. We now have the brain power. We now have the, well, I think we lack the esprit de corps to do as our young footballers are doing. Strike out as a nation, think as a nation, think in terms of not what we can't do because we're so small, what we can do because we are very relevant. The business community do not shrink. While we were trying to push independence to Bermudians, and we were being told by the 40 Thieves and others that we were too small, the Gibbons family and other entrepreneurs and Sir Henry and all of them had businesses in the Caribbean. They were striking out in the interest of themselves and in the interest of the country. That's what I mean. They had a national goal, which they used Bermuda as a base. There's so many endeavors, so many businesses, so many young people who have left because Bermuda didn't employ their talents to the fullest because they were told, like the little train who finally decided, yes, I can, and did. They've been told, no, you can't. And so they sit or they leave the island and we lose their talent. So I'm saying, Sister Maya, sorry for so long and making that answer, but we need a national psyche of a sovereign nation. If you go to, there has never been a country that went independent that fought to go back into colonial status. Why is that?
Interesting. Yeah. Yeah.
I like that. I like that, you know, bringing that into the play because I never thought about that either. That never fought to go back under colonialism.
With agreement from both of you, this is the end of the show. I'm going now. This has been a success. Thank you very much.
We have Omar James said Hong Kong did.
Hong Kong was forced to do it. You see the battle that Hong Kong has gone through for its independence from China. Right now, it was the same battle they fought from with the British. They didn't go back willingly. That would be another. We'll do another show on Hong Kong.
Yeah. Go ahead, Maya. Sorry.
I did have this question that came through just about like, what do you think halted independence when you were premier? You know, like what were some of the key challenges that, you know, had you prevent your government from taking the next concrete steps?
Well, I said it was a failure on my part. And I mean that I went through all the mechanics, but there were divided interests even within the PLP at that time. We were still dealing with the internal forces that took Dame Jennifer out. I made myself vulnerable by taking up the initiative of independence, as my cabinet secretary said, Mr. Drinkwater. And so I was exposed from within and I was fighting outside. And I took another decision, which I think understandable at the time, but from a political point of view, I may have been naive. I had made speeches throughout the Caribbean about the issue of independence, invited to Turks and Caicos, invited to Cayman, yada, yada, yada. But when I appointed Bishop Lamb, Vernon Lamb, as the chairman of BIC, I said, you're going to have your independence to develop this BIC independence brief. And he was comfortable for that because I never asked him his politics and he never declared same. But in hindsight, I should have made some of those forceful speeches that I made throughout the Caribbean here in Bermuda to try to persuade Bermudians to take a serious look at this notion of national sovereignty. But I wanted to be faithful to my commitment to Dr. Lamb, Bishop Lamb, and allow his BIC public meetings to go without the burden of our politics, my politics, the PLP politics. In hindsight, I think moving to sovereignty is a political thing. It is no place for conservatism, and I approached the subject very conservatively. You're hearing a confession now that I don't think I've ever made before. So I'm ready for the letters to the editor.
You know they're coming. You know they're coming.
Watch the phone start ringing right now.
Oh, that's good.
I'm an old man. I can say I'm senile now.
That's your excuse. There you go.
Well, what did you learn on your path to talking about the Commission of the Independence that you wrote? Like, how would independence impact Bermuda's legal system specifically? What did you find about those?
I found out that it is one thing to make a sale. You can have all the facts you want. It was a brilliant job done by Bishop Lamb and the other members. I thought that document would be paraded up and down Bermuda and everybody would be applauding it because it was common sense, it was clearly written, but the Royal Gazette, I think, picked out one or two lines. They talked about a country that had voted to go independent. I think it was Vanuatu, and they had not done so by referendum. They had done so by, it was the other way around. They did it at a general election, and they did not commit to doing it by a referendum. I was saying that we were prepared to do it by a election, and that would be enough because BIC articulated the position that we did. I don't even know if BIC said it specifically. I know in my discussions with the British at that time, they were saying that we need not consider a referendum, or we had to consider a referendum, even if we wanted at a general election as a platform issue. And the Royal Gazette took that line, took Vanuatu, and they said, and they dismissed the BIC report itself as being misinformation, misleading, yada, yada, yada. And therein lies the need for me to have been politically active as opposed to politically conservative. I was required, and my party would have been required to be upfront and doing a full course press, and we didn't because we had our divisions within who had other agenda, and we had the now formidable media entity of RG fighting back. So I give you the behind the scenes and the dynamics of the moment that challenged us.
You're muted, Maya. I'm not sure.
Sorry, can you talk a little bit about the benefits of Bermuda going independent?
You heard me say earlier this notion of psyche of dependency versus the psyche of a sovereign nation. My wife was from Jamaica, and when I went to Jamaica to meet her family, that was the first time I had been in a black-run majority country. I had gone to school in the U.S., blacks minority. I had traveled many places, blacks in minority or almost non-existent. But in Jamaica, as I sat in their parlor and their living room and with her family and began to tour Jamaica as a visitor does, they disagreed about just about anything and everything except one thing. Nobody talked down Jamaica. There was a national commitment to their country. In Trinidad, let me get this expression right. When I went to Trinidad, there's something that goes like this: sweet TNT, Lord, how I love up me country. And they said it with fervor, and it permeates everything they do. And so therefore, that means when they're constructing their educational policies, when they're coming up with their economic policies, sporting policies, when they're talking about their community interests and priorities, their culture, their country comes to the fore. I've been to national football games at the National Stadium, and in actual fact, seeing, it's very polite, but seeing Bermudians cheer harder for the other national team than they are for theirs. And when their team makes a slip up and maybe a goal is the result, they come down on their team, praise the other team, but give Bermudians a hard time. That national feeling is what has to be created here. And how do you create it? Remember at the outset, I said that the OBA and the PLP and the institutions responsible for our daily existence must come together, not talking about a breakaway from interest, from UK, but the building up of Bermuda, making Bermuda and Bermudians somebody. I was talking to, and I'll stop on this point, talking to some young leaders in the PLP. And I said, be sure you big up the country before you big up yourself. And that's what we're going to do here. Begin to big up Bermuda before we find all the naysayers and repeat the many things that are wrong. And there are things wrong here, but there are things wrong in the church. There are things wrong in any institution you want to find. There are things wrong in any country you travel to, but they don't pull down the country.
Well, it's interesting, Mr. Scott, because for years, and I'm glad you mentioned Jamaica, for years, there's been this fear-mongering amongst people. We shouldn't go independent because look what happened with Jamaica. There's been fear-mongering that what's the benefit? There's no need to. You see what happens to countries that go independent. with a little bit of research, anyone can tell you that independence isn't the reason most countries have, gone a bit down based on what people consider the standard. Maybe political corruption, maybe punishment from their colonial, mother countries, but it definitely isn't simply because of independence. That said, we have a very successful international business sector in Bermuda.
Yes, we do.
How do you think independence will impact that sector at all?
BIC speaks to that, and the answer is no. And in actual fact, I'm arguing that we can build on the template of the reinsurance industry in so many other areas. But let's go back to Jamaica. Let's look at Jamaica. The leading athletes, leading track team in the world are coming, and track stars are coming out of Jamaica, out of Jamaica's commitment to build, to encourage, to stimulate the talent they have in track and field. You know the obvious faces and names that come out of Jamaica, but there are American students going down to Jamaica to train. Look at Jamaica, really look at Jamaica, and we have been fed into submission. That's going to get me some of those letters to the editor I told you about earlier. We are not hungry enough. We don't believe in ourselves and our country to the extent that we not afraid to go it alone, but to go it with others. That's that interdependence I'm talking about. That's that a move to be independent of the UK doesn't mean that we become anti-British. The British are the greatest, in my experience, the British were the greatest proponent of us going independent. They said, it's for you to decide. It's for your populace to say they want to be an independent nation, and it's done. So we can't look to Britain and hold them responsible. It's actually ourselves. Although, let me put it in perspective. No country is free. No country is a full-blooded democracy if it answers to another parliament. And we answer to another parliament. That final say on whatever our parliament does comes from Great Britain. No longer their fault. It's our failing. It's our psyche of dependency.
Wow. I can't say I disagree with anything you said. And that's go ahead, Maya.
But I want to end the show now with all this.
One more. Yeah.
I got a question coming from the audience, Renee Simmons. She asks, what are your thoughts on Bermuda abandoning the current governance system and replacing with a population-centered governance system that does not require the use of any political parties like Guernsey?
I smile when I hear that, because one of the most despotic periods of our parliamentary history was when we had all independence. And if we were to do away with political parties on Monday, on Wednesday, we would see 5 or 10 fellows getting together to get their point through. By Friday, we would see 6 or 7 fellows against that idea getting together in this independent parliament. And at the end of the day, call it what you may, party, caucus, yacht club, whatever you want to call it, you would find that to get anything done, they would have to do what? Band together. And this notion that independent thinkers always come to the best decision. It is a case of human nature. It's what you can accomplish. If once you set a goal, you then look around for others to assist you to uh, uh, accomplish that goal. And lo and behold, if it works on one occasion, those fellows and those ladies would say, listen, we got that through. Why don't we get something else through? And you would be back into, if you didn't call it party politics, you'd be back into a form of government that was equal to, unless, and this is a very sober unless, look what is happening in the US right now. You have a individual with dictatorial intent. He has now persuaded at least a third of the country to go along with his dictatorial intent. The Republican Party exists only in name only now. And if Donald Trump was to succeed in the next election, in the presidential election in the US, you would no longer have a Democratic Party of any consequence, a Republican Party of any consequence. In this bastion of constitutional democracy, this America, which used to talk about being the home of the brave, would be no more. So be careful how you wish to get rid of what we have, because what we have is, as Winston Churchill once said, I paraphrase, democracy is not a very impressive form of governance, but there isn't anything better.
Yeah, I think I completely get the frustration with the two-party system, but I remember many years ago doing a talk show and saying, like, what you said is really true. It's like, if we say, let's get rid of the party system and go with independence, people will still find a way to team up. Because at the end of the day, there are people who share the same ideals, right? And they're going to be like, well, I can't do this alone. We're forgetting a key thing, money. Everyone's going to want to pool money. So it'll really end up in the same thing. Just got one more question from the audience. E. Smith says, independence for an import-only economy like Bermuda hyperinflation equals hyperinflation. History has shown once the politicians gain control of their own printing press, debt to GP levels go sky high. Then they become eternally enslaved to the IMF, World Bank, and the same masters they gain independence from. Anything you want to say to that?
I've heard that before, and I just say that that's the sort of thinking that you bring into a community forum. That's the sort of thing you bring into a forum with businessmen who want to be entrepreneurs in a new environment, a more competitive environment. And your politics don't necessarily lead to the loss of competitiveness. It is your national, because people vote, it is your national esprit de corps. And I understand and I sympathize with what the individual is saying, but what I'm saying is we have to take another look at the country that we are now and say, what do you want? What do we want it to become? And what are the hurdles to reaching that goal? Let's make it a national goal, a national conversation. And you bring the OBA into it. You bring the PLP into it. You bring the Chamber of Commerce into it. You bring the individual who wrote that little caption a moment ago. And you build a better mousetrap than the one we have. Because right now, prices are sky high. Bermuda is one of the most expensive places to live. How do we address that? We are losing bright young Bermudians to a brain drain. How do we address that? And so on and so forth. Is independence a panacea? No. But a national commitment to the country that we love and live in and would die for, that will move the needle. That's what I'm suggesting is another way of looking at Bermuda, not as an independent country, but an interdependent country, one that works with other regions and countries. And the UN will provide you with many of the solutions to the problems we see on the horizon, because we're certainly not the first person to go independent, but we're just about some of the last. So we can benefit from the mistakes that were made before. And just sitting here treading constitutional water is not the answer. Many folks who want to go back to what it was are because they never dreamt that there would be a PLP which reflects the rule of the majority coming into existence. It wasn't a call for another party from those same quarters when it was the 40 Thieves and the dominance of the businessmen and business community. So there are politics even in the criticism of our politics.
Premier, I want to let you go because, but there's so much more, and we definitely have to have a part two where we're talking about the state of Bermuda. Obviously, today we focus on independence, but I want to just say this before you head out. I think right now independence will probably be one of the most unpopular topics or conversations to have in Bermuda, simply because the lack of faith that people have in our administration. But that said, I remember when I visited the African American Museum in DC for the first time some years ago, and I picked up some books and I began reading at that time about the ending of the slave trade in the United States. And one of the things I learned, I likened to Bermudians who have always opposed independence. And as I read through these books, I understood how many enslaved Black people did not want to be free. And the reasons they didn't want to be free is because they were getting room and board. They're like, well, where are we going to go? Where are we going to stay? How are we going to eat? Those questions right there are similar to me when people say, when it regards independence, well, what about our economy? What are we going to do? Who's going to protect us? How are we going to do this and that? Folks, I think the message that has been sent today by former Premier Scott is very simple. This is all internal. Our mindset has to shift the psyche. Once we take care of what's going on internally, we don't have to worry about external forces telling us what to do and controlling our narrative. So I would encourage people not to change your mind, but just educate yourself a bit more and think of that comparison a bit deeper. Because I'm not saying that you're enslaved or I'm not calling you that. What I'm simply saying is a lot of these things are similar to those questions. Think about it. The transatlantic slave trade, one of the worst atrocities in human history. And you had many who did not want to be free. Think about that. Just think about it. Sarah, before you go, what advice would you give to the general public as it relates to independence, especially those who, to this day, do not see the benefit or purpose?
I would say you don't know what you don't know until you know. All of that is saying, if you just by reflex action say no to independence, no to interdependence, no to the notion, even the intellectual discussion, you will never know that you don't know until you know what could be achieved by this precious little rock, this precious little piece of geography out here in the mid-Atlantic, taking the next step. You wouldn't tell your children stay home and live under your roof for the balance of their lives. They would become indolent. They would become dependent. They wouldn't be as productive, and you would get tired of them. Well, Britain is tired of us. We're not as productive as we could be, and we're still holding on to Mama's apron string, Mother Country's apron strings. Something sounds retrogressive about that, not progressive.
Indeed. Thank you. I'm going to put you on the spot. I would love you to have a conversation with Media Maya. Maya has a great following of young people, and I really think that you need to, they need to connect with you. Many of them, you said something earlier that when you had done that, commissioned a report on independence, many young people were probably toddlers, right? In primary school, if that. There's a generation that really needs to connect and hear your message. Some of them may not tune into this. So I'm putting you both on the spot. Maya, let's make this happen very soon, please. I think this conversation needs to go beyond those who are tuning in today. So that, with that said, sorry, thank you so very much for your time.
Having me.
And we look forward to definitely another conversation on this show as it relates to the state of Bermuda current day politics. So have a wonderful day. We appreciate you very much.
Thank you, Prima.
You and your listeners, stay safe, stay strong, stay close.
You as well. Thank you, sir.
Take care.
All right, folks. Thank you so much to former Premier, the Honorable Alex Scott, CBE JP. Folks, if you appreciated that conversation, please give us a thumbs up, a love, a like. Maya knows I'm like that. I'm going to put you on the spot. We're going to make this happen. I think there's so much more that needs to be discussed with former Premier Scott. And I know there are a lot of young people on Twitter and Instagram who, I meant what I said earlier. Outside of Premier Paula Cox, he's probably the last premier without ego that we've had. You saw it in the way he was speaking. And I like how every question he answered, there was something, an internal spirit in saying, no, I'm not going to address it in this way. This is how we're going to address it. And it pulled you in and made you figure, hey, this is internal. We're going to do a giveaway when we come back, Maya. We're going to do a giveaway simply because we had such a great show. We're going to do a hashtag giveaway. And we're going to do the daily play. And we're both going to share our opinions and wrap it up. Folks, let us know what you thought of today's show in the comments. Stick with us. One last break before we head out.
Get ready. BAC Group of Companies will be having a huge clearance sale. Many products will be discounted by up to 75%. Mark your calendars because this deal will only be offered from September 28th to the 30th. That's Thursday, Friday, and Saturday from 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. at the BAC parking lot. Big discounts on vanities, toilets, AC units, light fixtures, and much more. You do not want to miss out. Discounts up to 75%. BAC parking lot, September 28th to the 30th. Be there and save big.
Ordering from ER Fisheries has just gotten simpler. With just a few clicks of a button, you can place an order for next-day delivery or same-day pickup. Our ever-expanding list of offerings now include grocery pantry items, specialty meats, and bread and dairy items. We know things have been hard, and we're here to make planning for your next meal or party easy. Whether you're a vegetarian or a meat eater, we have what you're looking for. And best of all, it can be delivered to your door in 24 hours or less. Go to www.erfisheries.bm and check out our wide range of seafood, beef, lamb, pork, poultry, fruits, vegetables, and plant-based products, all available at reasonable prices. That's www.erfisheries.bm.
Thanks again to former Premier, the Honorable Alex Scott, CBN, JP. I just want to tell you again, folks, appreciate you tuning in and engaging. Give us a thumbs up, a love, a like if you appreciated today's show, found it helpful. Thanks again to the BAC Group of Companies who currently have a sale going on, ending today up to 75% off on all things there. Take advantage of it. Get there. Give them a call if you need. Thanks again to Medical House, Lindo's, and People's Pharmacy for ensuring we can do this show on a daily basis. And thank you to Maya, especially for making the time. And I'm going to say it, putting all the questions together and really helping do today's show with me from that perspective. A lot of questions we didn't ask, folks. There's a lot more conversation ahead. So trust me, we tried our best to engage you all, but it was definitely a really good conversation. I appreciate it. And I encourage you to share it. Share it with your family, your friends, your colleagues. You know, I say it all the time. This show is not about agreeing. It's about engaging and having conversations and thinking. I am not here trying to change anyone's mind. I don't want anyone thinking like me simply because you like me, or not thinking like me because you don't like me. I just want to have conversations where we can make each other think, consider there's something different. I think it's helpful and it's healthy for our community. Anyway, I'll give you the daily play first, and then we're going to do a hashtag giveaway. So get ready. All right, so it's time for the Daily Play, brought to you by Bermuda Trivia, now available at stores throughout Bermuda. Follow Bermuda Trivia on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and TikTok to find out why it's Bermuda's favorite trivia game. Maya, are you ready?
Oh, I'm doing this? Okay, I thought it was the audience winning something.
No, they'll get the hashtag. So it's
Okay.
all right. It's the things you should know.
Okay, great.
It's a movie. You might get this.
Yeah, I like
Who directed the 1990s.
Wait. Start again. Okay.
Are you Googling?
No, I'm thinking.
Who directed the 1994 film Pulp Fiction?
I don't know. I'm not even gonna try. I don't know names. I know movies. I don't know names.
Someone's gonna get this.
I hope so, because I'm not.
Who directed Pulp Fiction, folks?
I couldn't name not one director except for the guy who did Transformers.
There we go. Yeah, you didn't spell it right, Omar, but you got it. Yeah, that's the answer. You know what? We're going to give Omar a gift anyway. Omar, please send an email to engage@thedailyhour.com. We're going to send you a Daily Hour travel mug. All right? So it was Quentin Tarantino. Thank you so much. Omar showed up first on the screen. So hashtag giveaway. If you want a chance to win another prize, put the hashtag in. It's going to be hashtag the Daily Hour. So hashtag the Daily Hour, and you have a chance to win today's giveaway. But Maya, let's wrap up today's show. Your final thoughts. I mean, again, you're much younger, so he was talking about you. You were probably in primary school when he did that report, right? As a, just how did you feel based on what you heard from Premier Scott today?
I feel like I'm left with a lot of almost a lot of emotions. I know I still have a lot of questions, but I think what really I'm going to leave here with is the fact that, maybe Bermudians don't have enough pride in the island as I thought. I think that was a big thing that hit me when he just talked about Jamaica, and if you had more pride or more, you just felt more connected within your island. Like he said, I'll big up Bermuda before you big up yourself. It's just and I mean, he talked about the football players and how, less support for them. I'm just sitting thinking you know what, maybe if we did have a lot more pride, which I thought that we did, then we would, be thinking a lot better when it comes to different situations, especially political, in the House of Assembly, whatever it might be, because we're thinking our island first and not greed for ourselves first. So that was a big thing that stuck with me, as well as just hearing about, the struggles within Parliament, as well as he was there as the Premier, and, him talking about what he could have done differently and speaking up more about just being more direct or forward, or arguing about the different situations in a different manner. But yeah, those are the things that kind of stuck with me from this conversation. Just the mindset.
Yeah, indeed. I've always spoken about a cultural shift in our mindset, the way we think. I think that, I've never been really pro or against independence. I've always just encouraged people to, think for themselves, to educate themselves. I've never bought into well, look at that country, they're independent. I've never bought into the fact that other countries were in somewhat bad states because of independence. There's so much more to it. I remember doing an economics class in school and in college, undergrad, and they did a case study on Jamaica. And the case study, I wish I remembered, but it didn't prove that Jamaica's economic woes were because of independence. It exposed corruption in political spaces, right? Corruption happens when the people allow it. Let me repeat that. Corruption happens when the people allow it. And so I don't want us to dismiss independence without really considering what the pros can be. Also, I don't want us going all gung-ho, let's run for it, we need independent Bermuda, without understanding what the cons may be. It's the best analogy I can give you is, I believe we all have within us to be entrepreneurs. Maya, you know how I push entrepreneurship. I would love everyone to have a space where no one has that control over you, where you have to go to work and be a certain place at a certain hour. I would love to see that. But I also understand that some people want to have that security net. They want to feel, I have insurance. I have a job that I can go to. I'm not critical of that. So I completely understand those who may not want an independent Bermuda. I get it. You are not lower than me. I'm not higher than you. And I think we need to, when we have these discussions, come from a place of understanding. We need to have some space to listen to each other. And actually, you know what? Compromise on some things. Yep, actually, that's right. No, I don't agree with this.
Yeah.
It should not scare us.
It's about listening to understand, not listening to respond.
Indeed. It shouldn't. It's that simple. So let's do the giveaway. I know you all are waiting for the giveaway. Let's see who's it gonna be. And Maya will give us a daily inspiration after that. All right, let's see. Who's it going to be, Maya? Let's hit it. All right, let's go. All right, where's my drum roll? Here we go. Who's it gonna be? Alrighty. Karen Simmons, Auntie Karen. What don't you have? All right. It's just, there's quite a few all winners. Auntie Karen, please send us an email, engage@thedailyhour.com. We'll get you a voucher to place one of our sponsors of your choosing. So you've got BAC, Medical House Lenders, People's Pharmacy, ER Fisheries, and MAC. You have a bunch to choose from. So please get to us as soon as you can. You've got some daily inspiration for us?
I do have some daily inspiration. So today's daily inspiration comes for you from the great people at ER Fisheries, and the inspiration comes from the great Maya Angelou. And it is, when someone shows you who they are, believe them the first time.
I mean, Maya, what was your first thought of me? You know what Maya said to me when we first met in person?
You're short?
She didn't know. Yeah, that's what I was going to say, but I'm not short. I'm not as tall as I may have been. She's so rude. You see how she is?
I was shocked. I just didn't expect it.
You expected me to be like taller than 6'2"?
Yeah, definitely. Boy math.
Good height for me. I mean, I remember that. Anyway, enough about my height. Folks, don't forget to subscribe on our website. Follow us on all of our social media channels to stay up to date with all that we have going on. Help us grow beyond the mic as we do our part to continue to improve our community. Thanks again to our partners, the BAC Group of Companies, Medical House Lindos, and People's Pharmacy, for ensuring that we're able to do this with you on a daily basis. As always, we appreciate you, we love you, and we thank you for making us part of your daily routine. If all goes well, we'll be back to do this again with you on Monday. She's Maya Palacio. I'm Jamal Hartman. Please do make it a safe and a great weekend. Maya does not want a long news break on Monday. Be safe out there, folks. Have a good one.